your dog, that leash goes tight, and suddenly a bark rips through the air, maybe a lunge, or they just freeze like a statue.
Yeah.
That jolt of disconnect, we've all been there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But what if that reaction isn't just about a dog acting out? What if it's actually like a crucial piece of information you're missing?
Exactly. And this deep dive, well, it's really for you if you're ready to go beyond the usual training tips and really understand what's going on inside your dog.
Right. It's about building a stronger connection.
Yeah, one where you're not just trying to stop behaviors, but you're truly understanding what's, driving them.
And today, we're exploring some really fascinating resources to help us do just that. We're looking at the Transform Your Walks Experiential Audiobook Bundle.
Ooh, experiential. I like that.
Yeah. Think of it as a hands-on guide because it includes 4 individual audiobooks, and each one comes with its own workbook.
Okay.
So you get Tethered Horizons, The Listening Leash, The Invisible Leash, and HIIT for dogs. It's a pretty unique approach to connecting with our dogs.
And these insightful audiobooks, they come from Lorrie J. Harris. He's the founder of Coaching Canine Companions.
Okay.
And for anyone wanting to explore these ideas even further, she actually has many more one-of-a-kind dog training audiobooks available on her website. Really worth checking out.
Good to know. So what's our mission today then? We're diving into this idea that your dog's behavior is, it's a language, right?
Definitely.
Often speaking volumes about what they're actually experiencing. We'll unpack the incredible power of body language and that emotional link you share.
Mm-hmm.
We'll even explore how something like high-intensity interval training, HIIT, but specifically designed for dogs, can play a role.
Which sounds counterintuitive at first.
A little, but we'll get into it. Ultimately, we want to shift how you think about your relationship, moving from, let's say, control to a real foundation of trust and understanding.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Let's start with this core idea, behavior as communication.
Yes. As the Invisible Leash audiobook puts it so well, what we often see, a bark, a pull, a sudden stillness, it's usually a sign of something deeper.
Right. Not just a choice to misbehave.
Not at all. It's often not a conscious choice in the way we think of it.
It's almost like our dogs carry their stories within them. Doesn't the Invisible Leash talk about that? How dogs remember things their bodies never forget.
Exactly. Maybe a past scare, a loud noise, things we might not even know about.
So what looks like an over-the-top reaction now could actually be an echo of those earlier experiences.
Precisely. A pattern in disguise, as the audiobook calls it. And Tethered Horizons really drives this home. It points out that things like barking, pulling, even freezing up, they're forms of information.
Information.
Yeah, feedback. Like their nervous system is speaking out loud. It's their way of saying, hey, pay attention, or maybe something here doesn't feel quite right.
Okay. And this is where it gets really interesting for me. Tethered Horizons talks about spotting the pre-words.
Yes. Those tiny little clues.
The subtle signs of tension that show up before the big reaction. Right. Like a slight tensing of muscles, maybe.
Or a really fixed stare, holding their breath even. Learning to see these early signals. It's like getting a weather report before the storm hits. You have a chance to shift things.
And the audiobook introduces this fascinating idea called naming the whisper.
I love that phrase.
Me too. Instead of just shutting down a bark, for instance, it suggests gently acknowledging it. Maybe just saying their name calmly.
So you're turning a potential conflict point into a connection point.
Exactly. It becomes the start of a conversation, not just a problem you need to silence immediately.
It's about validation, isn't it? I hear you.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so we're starting to see that behavior is trying to tell us something. But how do we even begin to understand this language beyond, the obvious signals?
Well, that leads us straight into the incredible impact of our own body language and that whole emotional connection piece.
Right. And the listening leash really focuses on this, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It explains that the very first conversation you have with your dog, it isn't verbal at all. It's your posture.
Our posture.
Yeah, they're reading your nervous system right from the start. Think about it. If you were feeling stressed and you're gripping that leash tightly.
They know instantly.
That tension just travels right down the leash. The listening leash really emphasizes how our hands, that direct point of contact, are basically broadcasting our internal state.
So if I'm feeling rushed or anxious...
That gets telegraphed immediately through your grip, through your whole body, really.
Wow. And the audiobook introduces this powerful concept of the listening body. What exactly is that?
It's this idea that your posture actually shapes how safe your dog feels around you. Your movement influences their emotions, and your simple presence Just being there calmly becomes a primary cue.
So it's about leading from a place of inner calm and awareness, not just barking commands.
Precisely. Less doing, more being, in a way.
Something that really struck me was the focus on breath and stillness in the listening leash.
Yes, so powerful, yet so simple.
How taking even just a conscious, soft breath can be a huge signal for our dogs. And in those chaotic moments, if we can become a still point,
Our grounded presence.
yeah, it can be incredibly regulating for them, like you're their portable security blanket.
That's co-regulation in action. Tethered Horizons talks about this too. A calm handler can act as a real anchor for a reactive dog.
Offering a pause.
A mirror, almost. A mirror of steadiness. It's like being the eye of the storm for them when everything else feels overwhelming.
And the invisible leash brings in this idea of emotional anchors.
Mm-hmm. Consistent, safe, embodied feelings that we offer.
Not commands, but just a feeling of safety we cultivate through our own state.
Exactly. And when a dog is really getting worked up, spinning out of it, Tethered Horizons suggests a field reset.
A field reset, okay.
It's a conscious act. You
Yeah.
soften your breath, widen your gaze, literally look around calmly and just become that calm center. It's about actively shifting your own energy to help them find their way back.
This all makes so much sense. It's about becoming way more aware of our own bodies, our own emotions when we're with our dogs.
It really is. Self-awareness is key.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about something that might seem a little unexpected in this conversation about emotional well-being. High-intensity interval training, HIIT, for dogs.
Yeah, Canine HIIT.
Right.
HIIT for dogs introduces this as a method that can actually maximize learning and improve behavior
How?
through short, focused bursts of activity followed by strategic rest. It draws on the same principles used in human fitness, but adapted for dogs.
Okay, so how exactly does short, intense exercise relate to better behavior and learning? I'm still trying to connect those dots.
Well, HIIT for dogs explains that dogs generally have pretty short attention spans, right? Typically around, say, 3 to 7 minutes for focused learning.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right for some dogs I know.
So HIAT cleverly works with these natural windows of focus. It breaks training down into short, really engaging intervals.
So they stay interested.
Exactly. It maximizes their mental engagement and actually helps them retain what they're learning more effectively.
So it's more about the quality of the interaction than just slogging through a long session.
Precisely. And the rest periods are just as crucial, maybe even more so.
Really? Why?
Well, HIIT for dogs emphasizes that rest isn't just downtime. It's absolutely essential for their brains to consolidate memories.
Ah, okay. Lock in the learning.
Exactly. And it reduces stress levels, helps build emotional resilience. It gives them that vital time to process and store the new information without getting overloaded.
That's fascinating. So instead of those long, sometimes tedious training sessions where maybe they just get bored or frustrated.
You're looking at these short bursts with really intentional breaks. The audiobook even mentions this idea of superlearn.
Superlearn. Tell me about that.
Yeah, superlearn is all about breaking training down into those short, focused intervals with those really important breaks in between. It keeps dogs much more engaged.
Prevents burnout.
Totally prevents burnout and mental fatigue. And it helps those positive behaviors stick much more effectively. HIIT for dogs also points out how this approach can be really helpful with common training setbacks, like regression.
Oh, like when a dog seems to forget something they definitely knew.
Yeah, those rest intervals really aid in memory consolidation, making the learning much more stable in the long run. Plus, it can help dogs find a better balance between those high-energy moments and being able to settle into a calmer state.
And I assume, just like with us, it needs to be tailored, not a one-size-fits-all.
Oh, absolutely. HIIT for dogs really stresses the importance of tailoring those HIIT routines. You've got to match it to each dog's unique personality, their energy levels, their individual learning style.
What works for a Border Collie might not work for a Basset Hound.
Exactly. What really motivates one dog might not be effective at all for another. And the audiobook also talks about active rest.
Active rest, so not just lying down.
Right. It could be things like a slow, leisurely, sniffy walk on the leash or some engaging scent games. It provides mental stimulation without the high physical intensity.
Keeps their brain working, but lets their body recover.
Precisely. And then during the more structured rest periods, using calming techniques is key. Things like mat training, gentle petting, maybe even some controlled breathing exercise alongside them.
Just quiet time.
Just quiet time. It helps them transition into a calmer state and reinforces relaxation as a good thing, a positive experience.
Huh.
There's even this concept mentioned of deep work or flow for dogs.
Flow state for dogs, like when we get really absorbed in something.
Kind of achieving this intense state of concentration during those focused training bursts. It's pretty cool to think about.
This is really shifting my perspective on dog training. It's not just about drilling commands over and over.
No, it's about understanding their natural rhythms, their learning process, and optimizing it.
Okay, so we've explored understanding their communication, the power of our connection, and even how to structure their learning with HIT. Now let's dive into this really transformative idea. Shifting from control to building real trust and offering them choices.
Yes, and this is where the leash itself can take on a completely different meaning. The listening leash suggests thinking of the leash not just as a tool for physical control.
Which is how most of us see it, right?
Probably, yeah.
Uh,
But thinking of it more as a listening device,
mm,
a way for you to actually feel and understand those subtle shifts in your dog's energy, their tension, their relaxation.
Through the leash.
Yeah, it introduces this concept of somatic cues, which is really about guiding your dog through your presence, your softness, and these subtle sensations, rather than just relying on yanking or physical force.
I love that phrase from the book, teaching without touching.
Mhm. Leading with your breath, your energy, maybe silent direction,
Yeah.
making your body an invitation, not an interruption.
It's about that really subtle communication that goes way beyond just physical manipulation or commands.
Exactly. It's a dance, almost. And when that connection does happen to break down, because, let's be real, it happens sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
The listening leash offers this incredibly simple but powerful tool, the 3-breath reset.
Okay, what's that?
It's just stopping, pausing, taking a gentle inhale, a slow exhale, and consciously softening your grip on the leash, softening your body.
Ah, a moment to just reset yourself.
Exactly. It's a way to reconnect without letting frustration or judgment creep in. Just a quiet return.
It sounds like emotional leadership is really the key here then. The listening leash emphasizes that dogs ultimately follow congruence.
Congruence.
Yeah, like they follow what we truly feel and project more than just the words we say. It's about us being that steady, reliable, authentic presence for them.
That makes so much sense.
Mhm.
And Tethered Horizons really highlights that offering choices isn't the opposite of obedience.
Right. People sometimes think giving choices means no rules.
But it's actually a fundamental pathway to building trust, especially for dogs who might be fearful or reactive. Giving them that sense of agency, that ability to participate, can be incredibly empowering for them.
The two good choices exercise sounds like such a practical way to put this into action.
It really is. Simply offering your dog 2 acceptable options, like sniff here or walk this way, allows them to actively participate in their training rather than just being passively told what to do all the time.
Giving them a voice, in a way.
Absolutely. And Tethered Horizons also introduces this really interesting idea of inverting the problem.
Inverting the problem. How does that work?
Well, instead of just trying to suppress a behavior like, say, reactivity towards squirrels,
A classic.
right, it's about reframing it,
Right.
understanding the underlying need or instinct, maybe predatory drive, and finding a way to redirect that energy into something positive and empowering.
Like using a flirt pole, maybe.
Exactly. Using a flirt pole to safely channel that natural drive. You're meeting the need, not just squashing the behavior.
And the concept of recall without control, that one really stood out to me from Tethered Horizons.
Oh yeah, that's a game changer for many people.
Practicing calling our dogs back in low-pressure situations, but then not immediately clipping the leash or issuing another command.
Right. Letting the act of returning to you be its own reward. It builds value in coming back, strengthening that bond of trust, not associating recall with the fun ending.
It makes the recall about connection, not just capture.
Beautifully put. Ultimately, as Tethered Horizons so beautifully puts it, the leash is really meant to be a thread of trust and belonging,
Not just a tether.
not just a physical tether or a tool for correction. And incorporating those little micro pauses during your walks.
Just stopping for a second.
Yeah, just stopping to reconnect, maybe take a breath together, be a still point for your dog.
Mm.
You can really reinforce this deep connection.
It all comes back to being present, doesn't it?
It really does. Being present, being resilient in those moments of challenge, and that quiet return to connection. Making the leash a lifeline built on shared understanding and trust.
Wow, this has been such an insightful exploration. Just to quickly recap some of those key takeaways for everyone listening.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've learned that our dog's behavior is this really rich form of communication, right? Often signaling deeper needs, maybe past experiences.
Definitely more than just good or bad.
Absolutely. And our own emotional state, our body language, it has this profound direct impact on them.
Huge impact. We're broadcasting constantly.
And HIIT, high-intensity interval training, when it's tailored to the individual dog, can be a surprisingly effective way to really focus their learning and build their emotional resilience.
Working with their nature, not against it.
And perhaps most importantly, that journey from trying to control our dogs to really building trust and offering them choices, well, that can completely transform our relationship with them.
It's a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling inspired by all this, if you want to explore these ideas further and truly transform your walks,
Which hopefully you are.
we highly recommend checking out the Transform Your Walks Experiential Audiobook Bundle. Remember, it includes Tethered Horizons, the Listening Leash, the Invisible Leash, and HIIT for Dogs, plus those workbooks to really guide you.
A great package.
Yeah. And don't forget, Lorrie J. Harris of Coaching Canine Companions has many more of her unique dog training audiobooks available on her website for you to discover. Lots more great stuff there.
Fantastic. So as you head out for your next walk with your dog, maybe just take a moment to consider this. What subtle signals might your dog be trying to communicate that you might have overlooked before?
Good question.
Or perhaps, how could you bring just a little more of your own calm presence, that listening body, to your next interaction? Just something to think about as you continue to deepen that incredible bond you share.